if you do not force all of the children, so the 7 remaining of us, to come to my memorial, he said, I'm gonna throw out Margaret's ashes. Like, okay, what a cruel thing to do, but you don't have this power anymore. And that's where I think it started for me, because there has been a lot of me trying to be very careful in the past of like what I said or how I said it. I would write things, post it online, take it down, because he still had my sisters with him. And there's still a situation where he's got a hand in like my brother's bank account. And so I just decided I have to not be afraid of any repercussions because I'm an adult now.
What year was this?
2018.
2018. We're going on 8 years of your sister's passing. You said it was still an open case. Over the years, I'm sure there are theories. I'm sure you have them and your other siblings have them. What do you think happened, more importantly?
There we go.
Apple one.
Did I do it?
Whoa, there you are.
Hey!
Hello. Oh,
Okay.
where'd Pup go?
He insisted on getting down. So I will see. He might try to get back up. We'll see we'll see what happens. I don't know.
No worries.
There are like 4 total in my house right now. So
Just hanging.
yeah, 3 of them are mine, and then I found that one. So
Now he's kind of yours.
yeah, he's going to a trial home December 1st. We'll see.
Aw.
We'll see. There, he's back.
That's good of you.
Yeah. Yeah. It fell to me because my neighbors were like, oh, good job. Because they were like, I was walking one of my other dogs, and they're like, if you see a black chihuahua, let us know. And I was like, okay, do you know who he is? And we just got to find him. Great. So I got him, and they're like, good job and good luck. I was like, okay. Okay.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. But that's my neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood in many ways, but also like very weird. A lot of weirdos. Weird people. Don't include that.
I'm
going in there.
including that. That's gonna be
Lots
the
of weirdos.
Lots of weirdos.
The title of part 2. Yeah. Back with Elizabeth part 2. Lots of weirdos
Which is,
in her neighborhood.
I mean, that's
direct neighbor.
the
weird.
story of my life, I would say. Lots of weirdos. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I believe we kind of left off right at that point. You either filed for divorce or got the hell out of there. So you start wherever you want to start, and let's get into this.
Okay. And I'd written some notes, and let me know if there's anything that you guys wanted to delve into a little bit more. I think it's a trauma response where I'm like, do I make sense? Am I going to make someone mad is another trauma response. So I'm kind of like working through all that as I tell my story. But another thing about like not having an opportunity to have sex or have a relationship was that I was convinced that I was ugly was another thing too. Like everyone in my life told me that I was ugly, like everyone. And one of my brothers talked to me about that too. He's like, if everyone tells you you're stupid and ugly, you start to believe it, So
Yeah.
it just becomes
definitely.
something that you absorb. And I had a situation in high school where a guy in a grade younger than me said hi to me during the lunch. We were out in the hallway for some reason, and some little kids came up because it was a Baptist high school. So it was like kindergarten through 12th grade. So we had some little kids in the hall. There was like less than 500 kids total. I graduated one of 5 kids in my high school class. Super small Baptist school. But he said hi to me, and one of the little kids was like, ooh, Keith likes Liz. And he goes, yeah, but does Liz like Keith? And I just like laughed it off. Like in my head, there was just no way that he found me attractive or would want to date me. So I wanted to give a little bit more context for that too.
You said everyone in your life told you were ugly.
So it wouldn't be overt. It would just be little comments. Like my older sister would call me horse face because my teeth are a little bit larger than most people. So she liked to say that I had a horse face. My father would say things like if I made a joke, he'd be like, oh, you're funny looking, stuff like that. And then even in college, someone that I considered a friend for a long time, she said I wasn't pretty because I didn't have a symmetrical face. So these comments are coming from, all over.
Harsh.
Yeah. But then I look back and I'm like, the people that were considered attractive in high school and college, they don't always age well. It's those of us that have.
They do
They
not.
really don't.
They do not.
It's those of us that are a little bit.
Except Adrian.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Except Adrian. She looks exactly the same.
I would say, Adrian, you
Almost.
grew into your features. You definitely had a baby face from the photos with you and Jake. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're stunning now. And you're very pretty then,
Thank
but
you.
I think you definitely grew into your features and blossomed. And I think that's what we see as people get older too. So those of us with more unusual looking faces, we just get more attractive with time, I think.
I think and I want both your opinions on this, went the opposite route. I went from, this is like one picture, which a lot of people saw, and you probably have seen, where I look like a fucking monster. And I have a phone and a cigarette in my hand and this suit jacket with Adrian. Do you
Yeah,
know the one I'm talking about?
So you think you looked
I
as a
do.
monster when you were younger?
Like not like a kid, but like in my, I had a period where I looked, I don't know,
We
but
should
I
find
mean,
the picture.
I think I kind of look like younger or something
So you
now.
had a kind of a chubby addict face, I think what I would say is like you looked bloated in your
A
photos.
chubby, bloated addict
Yeah.
face.
You were drinking a lot too at that time. I think more than the drugs, because that picture in particular, I think was before I was doing opiates.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a lot more
that was
drinking, which
around
makes you puffier.
Yeah, drinking does.
that was around the time Mom
Mm-hmm.
was either dead or dying. I think dead, but
Yeah, I think she's
that's
already
when
dead.
I really hit that bottle hard.
And it yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say that you looked like a monster or that you were ugly in any of the photos either. Um
It was the eyes.
yeah.
They were large, like that.
I don't know. I look at it nowadays. I'm like, back to
Yeah.
you. Sorry for the
No
diversion.
worries. And then I had a few, and Slishel will come up again, but some of the other notes I thought a lot about was like he had his minions of like plausible deniability. So parents were in charge of keeping their kids in line, and one story I heard was like he dragged his daughters across the floor by their hair, and my father did that to my older sister, and that was one of the times I actually called the cops on him. And there was one time I was sitting around the table with his wife and some of his daughters, and they were like, "Just tell dad that you're going to do this or whatever, or just tell him no," I think is what they said. And she like laughs, but it
Hmm.
was like the laugh that didn't reach her eyes, and she was like, "No, he'll hit me," and they just stopped talking. Okay, I might have to do something. Rose, thank you.
They all want to come up on your lap
Yeah.
now.
Even though he only had one ball. He lost his one ball. He's very interested in this one, who's a girl still. So we'll see. So yeah, that I just had.
That's rough when you only have one ball and then lose it. I can imagine
He's struggling. He's going through
feeling.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Poor pup.
he's going through it. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure everything had made sense. And I do have a Substack called I Grew Up in a Cult that delves into the theology of it because it was Reformed theology. So I would say I grew up more in a cult of theology because we went to a few different churches, but it started with Slishel, and that's where my parents learned that theology too. So I just wanted to make sure all of that made sense. So I left Daniel, and he ended up filing for divorce. He kind of tried to get the jump on it and try to get ahead of it. So I got served at my job at the time, and he just left Colorado, and I went to California for a couple months and didn't have the best living situation there, and ended up moving to New Jersey and stayed with a friend for a bit. And I was trying to figure out work and what I was going to do next. And I was like, well, I've always liked dogs. Let me try dog walking for a little bit. So I became a dog walker, did that for 6 months, had a crazy boss. She was insane. And then found a ad for a paid dog training internship on a farm in southern Jersey. And I had some other jobs sprinkled in there too. Worked at Starbucks for a bit, had some marketing jobs, but that's where dog training happened. So I just worked on a farm training dogs. And my family was just a few hours away. They were in the Poconos, and I was in southern New Jersey, and became the farm camp manager, their communications person. Was just really enjoying my work and feeling like I was starting to get somewhere again. And one morning, it was a Thursday, I believe, April 5th, 2018, my sisters were calling and texting me, and I just remember being frustrated. I was just like, leave me alone. Sisters can be annoying. And they kept calling me, and I finally picked up the phone, and one of my sisters said, Margaret's gone. And I said, well, where'd she go? Let's go get her. And she's like, no, she's dead. And I don't, it's hard to describe, but I think Jake, some of that with your mom passing. And Adrian, I don't know if you've lost someone, but just that it's such a punch. Even if I'm sure if someone's sick or elderly, you can prepare a little bit, but when it's out of the blue and it's a surprise, there's a particular sort of pain to it that I really don't know how to describe. And I just tried to get home as fast as possible and see my family and try to figure out what happened. And from what we could understand, she was living with a guy like a mile and a half from my mom, and she had died from a gunshot wound to the face, essentially. So when the cops
What?
walked in, everyone except one detective said this is a suicide, but it was with a rifle, like a longer gun. So it didn't make sense for suicide. And I have to be careful of what details I share because it's still an open investigation. They've had 2 grand juries, but one detective said something's not right about this. And he has kept it open. And he retired a few years ago, so he's not on the case, but he kept it open. And they continued to keep it open to this day because it's either a murder or a suicide. And we learned that she was pregnant, and it was just and she was only 20 years old. She was just a kid. So there was just a lot to that. And my father's always been an asshole, but he got way worse around her death because he's a narcissist and he was like, time for attention. And another thing that happened was Slishel showed up again. So what he did, I think my father called him, and so they had been doing Facebook Lives for the church. And so they announced in a Facebook Live that my sister had died, along with details of her death, and kept that up on Facebook. And a friend of mine who was in the know and knew what was going on texted me about it. And so I was just like, absolutely the fuck not. And I think my older sister ended up reaching out to him and was just like, you got to take this down. This is not cool. And he did some sort of bullshit apology, like, you guys were such a big part of our lives. We consider you family. Like, this is like losing one of our own. We just wanted to share with our family. And my older sister was like, I think it was a nice apology. And I'm just there like, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it was like that plausible deniability.
Why do you think he posted that?
My theory is, and I think my father is like this too. So when there's a tragedy, especially a young tragedy, we see this a lot in, like an American gets kidnapped in Africa, and it's like a young woman of a certain age, and all young women Americans are like, oh, it could have been me, or I was just there last week. It could have been me. So there's this, I think humanity has this desire to be attached to tragedy, especially when there's no personal cost. So like, oh, I'm so close to this tragedy, I get to milk it and carry it like it's my own without the cost of it being my own. And then what I saw in my father was him milking it for the attention. So he's like, one thing he had posted on Facebook was like, I'm still hurting. I'm hurting so much. If I reach out to you, don't ignore me. It's like, okay. And he had like taken my 2 youngest sisters. Margaret was the second to last youngest. And they had gone to like the World Trade Center at one point, and it had been built by like a guy named Silverstein that we were not related to, or there was like some sort of connection to the World Trade Center. So my father like posts on Facebook something about the World Trade Center, like Margaret has passed and she loved her visit. They had gone like years ago. So he was just trying to milk the attention. And that's what Slishel did too, is like this milking of tragedy for my own benefit is, I think, how they were looking at it.
Yeah. Seems to
It's a
be.
very fine line between being helpful and seeking attention. And then right when you cross that line into attention seeking, it gets strange.
It does. And we see this happen around weddings and funerals the most. So people get insane around weddings. They get insane around funerals. Anytime there's this like big platform for attention, people lose their minds. And it's crazy to witness.
Why is that? It's like
Yeah.
part of the human condition.
I think this is my personal theory, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it as well. I think most people don't have a whole lot of excitement in their lives. So when there is a wedding or there is a funeral, it's like this level of excitement that doesn't happen very often, and people don't know how to process this. In terms of dog training, I call this over arousal. We see this a lot from dogs that have high levels of energy or they're very, very young. They have not been taught how to process excitement or changes in their environment. So I think for humans, it's this over arousal impact to their system of, I don't know how to handle everything that's changing or this big change in my life, even if it's not my life, in someone I know. How exciting. So they get over aroused and they don't know what to do with themselves. And then we see this kind of jerking out of activity because they don't know what to do.
And I think that kind of goes along with like the social media stuff is you always need to nobody knows how to interact or process or do anything anymore, and now there's social media and it's like, oh well, like my self-worth is based on how many likes I get, and this is something that will probably get me a lot of likes. I'm going to get dressed up and go to a wedding and they're having such a good time, but look at me because I look so good. And then funerals, I see it a lot on Facebook when people die. It's like people post all these things. Oh, we'll miss you, buddy. It's like, when was the last time you even really talked to that person? You just put that out there to get the feedback of, oh, so sorry for your loss and all the sad faces and this and that. That's how people process, is by seeking attention on social media.
In a very selfish way. So like one of my aunts was the first to post about
Mhm.
Margaret's death, even before any of her immediate family had a chance to post. I was so angry. It's like, that's not yours to take. Why did you take that? That's not yours.
Mhm.
And that's how I interacted with the days after Margaret's death, to this extent. Like my grandmother came to visit. My grandmother's on my mom's side is just another terrible person. She's since passed, so she's not going to care about any of this, but she was such a bully to me and to my siblings. And I just remember just kind of like staring at her, waiting for her to like say something. Like, go ahead, say something to me, say something to someone else. I'll fight you. Like, I'm not a kid anymore. You don't get to be a bully to me anymore. I will put you in your place. And she did not interact with me once. She stayed in her lane. I think she could sense that I was ready to go to war. And that's just kind of what I saw, is just people not knowing how to make space for my and my family's pain, and to make a mockery of it too. So we got her cremated because we were taking care of all the costs. We did a fundraiser to cover, because it was still like $3,000 even for a cremation. And we were told we had to give our father some, even though he hadn't been a meaningful part of her life. And we're like, okay, because he's her father. So we gave him half. And then we split some of it. I think my mom still has some. And we did a memorial. And we extended an invite to our father, because we're like, all right, we're not going to stop him from coming. But he's like, I'm bringing my girlfriend. And we said, the fuck you are. Like, she's not welcome. She was someone who was like walking in on my sisters in the bathroom and pushing them downstairs. So like, we don't know her. We don't like her. She's not coming to the memorial. We have no relationship with this person. We don't even have a relationship with him. Like, but he's her father.
Right.
So he said, she's coming and you can't stop it. And we said, bet.
Did your father leave your mother for this woman?
No, my mom left him, but she's wealthy.
God.
So his girlfriend that he's been together since my parents separated, she's very wealthy. So this is completely hearsay, and you could leave it in. I don't care, because I do not like this woman. I don't even remember if I've ever met her. I don't care. She's an enemy to me. She will stay an enemy. My father's an enemy to me. He will stay an enemy. So from what I've heard, she's very wealthy. They live on a farm, and her parents died in a mysterious incident where their brakes failed in the rain. That's all I'm gonna say.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
A little bit weird.
So
Yeah.
she would push your sisters down the stairs, and her parents, all you know of her is she did that, walked in the bathroom, and her parents died mysteriously, brake
Now she's
failure,
super
car
rich.
accident in the rain.
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
I don't know.
And
You're giving me
allegedly.
some
Yeah.
inspiration.
I'll say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Some inspiration for Blink season whatever to go investigate this.
Please do. Let me know what's there you dig up. So we said, "You're not coming." He said, "Try to stop me." And we realized we couldn't technically stop him. So we said the memorial is private. Anyone who wants to come that we will vet and give the address to and the time, we will do that. So we did not publicize the memorial, when it was, any of that. And so he said, "I'm going to do my own memorial." And we're like, "Okay." And then from what I understand, he got in touch with my mom, and he's like, "If you do not force all of the children, so the 7 remaining of us, to come to my memorial," he said, "I'm going to throw out Margaret's ashes." Like, okay, what a cruel thing to do, but you don't have this power anymore. And that's where I think it started for me, because there has been a lot of me trying to be very careful in the past of like what I said or how I said it. I would write things, post it online, take it down, because he still had my sisters with him. And there's still a situation where he's got a hand in like my brother's bank account. And so I just decided I have to not be afraid of any repercussions, because I'm an adult now.
What year was this?
2018.
2018. We're going on 8 years of your sister's passing. You said it was still an open case. Over the years, I'm sure there are theories. I'm sure you have them and your other siblings have them. What do you think happened, more importantly?
Let me say this off the record. So there was a situation where I was talking to the guy that my sister had been living with on. It turns out his father's a so he just so if we could feasibly get like to see,
Why is that the only way?
because there's not yeah, it's weird enough.
I
Yeah.
mean, unless they
They because they immediately labeled it as and they so I think because we know for a fact that when women are pregnant, it's the most dangerous times of their lives. And she had been in the military, she had been in the army, but she had. And what he told the police officer is that she had morning sickness, so she was like throwing up and like on the being like, "Oh, this is so terrible, this is so terrible." But that could also be interpreted as self-defense bruising. So, and the way they found her is they found her with this long shotgun rifle and the barrel in her mouth. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up on why that would happen. Plus, when women commit suicide, they don't do it with guns. They don't leave messes. So it's just
Not usually.
yeah. So it just doesn't add up. I think
crazy.
yeah, I think
It is crazy.
I think I can just say it's an open investigation and it's either a murder or a suicide. And I think that's about as far as I can say. I just don't want to further fuck up a fucked up investigation. So he does his own memorial and we don't go. I think some of my siblings go. I stopped talking to my father when I was 24 years old. So way back in like 2012. And the reason that happened, like he only called me when he wanted information. And once he actually called me on my birthday and I was like, did he remember my birthday? No, something was happening with my mom and he wanted information about my mom. And I was living in Colorado in 2012. And there was one day I was about to visit home and my father called me. He's like, I'm out of the country with my super wealthy murderess of a girlfriend. And I need you to go get your sisters from this camp. And I was like, well, I'm not going to have a car. I'm like, and so your car is going to be just in your driveway. Can I borrow your car while I'm there? And he's like, no, you can use like, your mom's or your sister's car. I'm like, I don't know if they're working or what they're going to do. Like, you're not doing anything with your car. Why can't I use it? And he's like, well, what am I getting out of it? And I was like,
Seriously.
okay. So I'm just like, I'm only of a benefit to him when he's getting something from me. And I had put all this effort into having a relationship with him, all this effort into having a relationship with my grandmother, who was the nastiest person in the world to talk to. I put all of this effort into trying to be a good person and follow the rules and do what would make other people happy. It's like, this is just all one-sided. Why am I doing this? So I just never called him again, and he did not reach out to me ever again. So that was kind of it.
Yeah, once you weren't useful anymore,
Yeah.
you weren't giving him what he wanted anymore, moves on to someone else.
Yeah. And he did. He's like, yeah, he's done quite a bit. And I do really feel for my siblings because they keep trying to have a relationship with him. Like, he doesn't think one of my sisters is his kid because our mom's like Irish German heritage. My father's a Jew. I look just like him, so he can't deny me. But I have a sister who's got green eyes and blonde hair, and he's like convinced my mom had an affair. And my mom's like, by the time I had her, she's like, I had 4 other little kids. Like, who's gonna come and have an affair with me? So, and he admitted that to me. He admitted that he didn't think that one of my sisters was his, and he treated her poorly and continues to. But she still tries to have that relationship with him, and it's sad.
Yeah, he's never going to change.
No, but when you're hungry for love, you keep hoping because the alternative is a lot harder. Like, so when you come from that sort of trauma, you keep twisting yourself and trying because that's easier to do than admit that your father doesn't love you and never did.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier to blame yourself.
Where are you at now with your trauma relationship with your father, all this stuff that's happened?
So I will say I tried to get therapy as soon as I left home at 18 when I went to like the Christian college. I figured out we had free therapy. I went to the therapist there. She's like, you're fine. And so it was like this journey of
You're good. Don't worry about it. You'll be
You're
fine.
great. And I was like having OCD like symptoms. I had like complex PTSD symptoms. And even friends would be like, every family is dysfunctional. And I'm like, the fuck they are. But okay. Every family has challenges and issues, but not every family has a father who would let their child die in the middle of the road if it was an inconvenience to him. I just cannot believe that's possible. So I finally found a really great therapist, non-Christian. She's trauma informed. I tried to get Christian therapy for years. Not great. Don't do it. And my therapist is wonderful. And so I've been in EMDR for a while and have done a lot of reprocessing. And that's been really great. I will say, if you suspect you come from trauma, but you're diminishing it, keep trying, keep looking. It's not only someone who's qualified, but someone that you vibe with, that connects with you. All of that is important. So I moved to Arkansas in 2018. So in July 4th, 2018, I moved out here to be with one of my sisters, the one that my father doesn't believe is his, because she had moved out here. She got pregnant in high school, and her son's grandparents moved out here. And that's a crazy story too. So she moved out here to be close to them, and then she bought a house, and I moved out here to like help her grieve, help her with her son, all of that. And she left about 2 years ago, because she got pregnant again. And I'm kind of stuck here for now. Arkansas is great. I love it so much. But where I'm at with my father is
Was that sarcasm?
so where I'm at with my father is I don't care what he hears or what I share at this point. If I were to ever see him again, it's on site, like, I want to smack that man so bad. I don't care. And that's why even though like Slishel is passed, even if Slishel were to be alive, I don't care. So there's 2 blasts from the past happen. One in 2018, my ex-husband starts to stalk my friends to try to get a hold of me. And so they're like, hey, he's looking for you. So I was like, okay. So I call him and I was like, naively thinking maybe he's going to apologize. Maybe he's been like, I'm so sorry for what I put you through. He goes, have you remarried? And I was like, what? What does that matter to you? He's like, well, if you've remarried, then biblically I'm free to remarry, which theologically, I've never heard that before. But I guess some like denominations might believe that, like it's sinful to remarry, or you're free to remarry if your spouse remarries. But otherwise, if you're both single and divorced, you're both still, in the eyes of God, still married. And I was just like, okay, don't contact me again. Click, like just did it. And I wrote about it on Instagram, the whole experience, and just didn't give him the set. I don't even know if he's married. I don't care. We're not bound to each other anymore. Like we have no connection. It should not matter. And then in 2023, and I posted a reel about this because it was so insane when it happened. So first I see that Slishel's son-in-law viewed one of my Instagram stories because my Instagram profile is public. So I see that he views my story. I was like, huh, weird. And then like a day or two later, I get a letter. And I had gone to ballet classes with this place called Covenant Ballet, which is connected to Slishel's church. The woman who founded it and runs the ballet studio has been a long-term member. I lived with her for a while when I moved back to New York City. I took classes with her. So I get a letter from Covenant Ballet saying, hey, we're looking for donations. We have this stuff coming up. And I know immediately what this is. This is a scare tactic trying to incite fear because they've done this to my mom plenty of times, just try to reach to her out of the blue, trying to get her fearful, trying to get her reconnected. And I know exactly what they're trying to do this to me. And so I email them like, take me off your list. I shouldn't have gotten this. You should not have my address. And they're like, oh, when we updated our system, somehow you got updated. How the fuck did you get my address in Little Rock, Arkansas?
Right.
You hunted me down. You found out where I lived. You did this on purpose. But instead of saying all that to them, I was just like, if I hear from Covenant Ballet or Messiahs ever again, I will treat this as harassment and pursue legal avenues for it. And they had the intelligence to not respond to that. And I haven't heard from them since. It's like, what are you going to do? Shut up at my door? Like, what are you going to do? Like, I don't care anymore. I'm not scared of
They
you anymore.
might.
Yeah.
Maybe they're crazy enough to do that.
So do it. I got a Belgian Malinois. She don't like people in the house. Try it. Try it.
Oh no, that would be kind of funny.
Yeah. So, but it was a scare tactic. And I'm just like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm an adult now. I've got resources, not money resources, not financial resources, but I have connection resources. I have legal resources. If I need help, I am so lucky at this point in my life to have a fantastic community of people. Like they gave me money for that Chihuahua to get him neutered and get him vetted. Like I just know some incredible people. I'm not scared. I'm not isolated. I'm not lonely anymore. So these tactics aren't going to work on me anymore. Same with my father. It's just not going to work anymore.
Did some of the fear of like kind of the church and the cult and stuff like that diminish after Schlissel, however you say his name, died? Like, did some of that kind of die with him? Like, because he was kind of the main perpetrator, I guess.
It ended a while ago. So I would say, I think 2023 when I got that letter and I saw my my options, I was like, it was just laughable. Even then, even a few years ago, it was just laughable. What are you gonna do? And I don't know when that fear officially abated. It was when Margaret died, I would say. I was just angry. I was just like, fuck you guys. Just fuck you guys. Like, who do you think you are?
Done being scared.
Yeah. Try it. I was so ready to fight when Margaret died. I was like, come on, try it. Say something to me.
Getting feisty. You're like, come on, do it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens at this point. And then after that, there was no more fear.
Yeah.
Because nothing happened when you went against it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like to see him groveling when he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She was such a part of our lives and our family. It's just like, you're pathetic. You're just a pathetic little man.
Stop. Yeah. Has a lot more power when you're younger too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because you're reliant on these people. You're reliant on the adults. You're relying on them to teach you, to feed you, to be a resource. And I didn't have any of that. I do think my mom, to the best of her ability, tried, but I was parenting babies when I was a child. I was figuring things out on my own. I got a job on my own. I figured out transportation on my own. I bought a car when I was 15. I got myself to college on my own. I never had an adult that helped me or
Mhm.
there was like a few adults like that were encouraging, but I just felt like an inconvenience to everybody in my life. And that's the recent, topic of EMDR. It's just like these feelings of inconvenience and that was like the fear, like texting Jake, like, okay, do I make sense? Sorry, it's not working out, like just this fear, that trauma popping up of like, oh no, they're not going to want to interview me. And that's just the trauma. It's not the reality, but that was how everybody in my life treated me. So it was hard. It's been so hard to figure out how to set that in the past, set it aside, and how to find the people that are good. And I've lost a lot of friends and I've changed a lot and I've had a lot of situations where people have gotten so angry. So now I own a dog training business and I work at a law firm. And the other day I was telling my coworker, I'm so afraid people are mad at me. And she's like, you're thinking too much about that. Nobody's mad at you. Shut up, basically. But that is
Mhm.
like the conditioning. And I have had a lot of people be upset with me and be angry with me and lose friendships in spectacular ways. But the more I choose myself and choose my growth and what's healthy for me, the more I heal and can move forward and make space for the people that are meant to be in my life. And I'm
Mhm.
very susceptible to love bombing, so that's something I've had to work on. I'm very susceptible to people, being overly flattering to certain things, but I can also, because I have a lot of neurodivergent traits, it doesn't take too long for me to see through that with people, and that makes them mad
Yeah.
too. So I have to be okay with making people angry, but that's been a process.
It's hard. It's hard to deprogram that kind of stuff, and I feel like you're never, like, fully cured, fully healed. There's
Mhm.
always gonna be some weird little thing that, like, triggers you, and, everything comes back full force, but at least you have the tools to take a pause and be like, "Wait a minute. This isn't real. This is trauma talking." Like you said, this
Mhm.
was in the past, um, and that gets easier with practice.
Yeah.
Even people that don't necessarily have severe or moderate trauma have those feelings of, oh, I feel like people are mad at me. There's obviously a spectrum of that. It can look a bunch of ways, but it's natural and it definitely takes work to get through that, regardless if you've been through something horrific or not really much at all. Still
Yeah.
exists, still work
Yeah.
to get rid of it.
Growth is hard and uncomfortable, and most people don't wanna do it, and so just kudos to you both from where you've come through and how you've processed it. So many people would give up, but I think you guys are great for a podcast like this of having those experiences and being able to navigate that with other people. So, yeah, it sucks, and one of the big things I had to work on was negative self-talk, because I would just berate
Yeah.
myself all the time, and so I had to just work I couldn't even start EMDR until I changed the negative self-talk. It just wasn't gonna work.
Have you successfully changed that negative
Yeah.
self-talk?
Yep.
Really?
So, I have a lot of OCD tendencies, and I had a lot of intrusive thoughts. They've gotten a lot better, but I would have some pretty big intrusive thoughts and then a lot of negative self-talk. So now I don't even think anymore, but I used to think, "You're so stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you say that?" And now it's, "You did the best you could. I'm so proud of you." And more recently, in the past couple of months, I've just been telling myself, like, "I'm too hot for this." Like, I'm too hot to be anxious. I'm too hot to be worried if someone's mad at
Yes.
me. And whether anyone else thinks I'm hot or not doesn't matter either. We get to decide our value and how we show up in the world. And something I've been working really hard over the past few years is just confidence, because you could have someone who's not like conventionally attractive, but if they're a confident person, they're magnetic. There's
Mhm.
something about that. So I have been able to show up in a confident way, and I see how people respond to that. So now if I make a mistake, it's like, all right, I'll figure it out. Or I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling like people are mad at me, let them be mad. We'll figure it out. And someone else said to me when I was like, I'm worried about making a mistake, they're like, then we'll fix it. It's like, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not the end of the world.
yeah,
We'll just figure it out.
we'll fix it. You worst case scenario, my dog training business goes under or I lose other opportunities. They just make way for other things. Like it's just even in relationships, like if you lose a relationship or you lose a romantic connection or you lose a friendship, was that meant for you, or is it making space for a person that's a better fit? And not that it was meaningless or it wasn't love. It's just it served its course for the time that it was there, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get to move on.
Relating it to me, look at my book that I worked really hard on and didn't want to self-publish. So meeting with all the big publishers and get a shitload of rejection, and that door closed, and I was kind of heartbroken. And another door opened to do this podcast. And now, yeah, that worked out. So yeah, when the door closes, a new one opens.
Yeah.
Going back to negative self-talk, I'm very skilled at being not only negative but really mean
And I never would
to
guess that.
myself and my self-talk.
That's so interesting. I never would have guessed that.
Bad,
Okay.
bad. I'm the worst.
Yeah.
I did it today.
Mhm.
I mean, I will do it after this call. I do it all the time, and I work on it too. Yeah, but bad, and it's stuff relating it to my public speaking or podcasting or whatever. My self banters, you suck. That was horrible. You need to do better. And then in recovery, it's always you're never gonna be able to do that. You're not gonna be able to do that.
Can I make some
And
suggestions?
it,
Sorry, I'll let you finish, but I have some suggestions for
yeah,
you.
sure.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
I
Good.
mean, I'm
Okay.
done. That
Okay. With intrusive thoughts or the negative self-talk is you can't fight it. So the more you fight it, the more they're going to fight you. So for example, I had an intrusive thought maybe last summer where I was walking over a bridge with one of my little dogs and I was like, what if I pushed her in? And just push her. And it was like, okay, but then what? So I push her in, she falls on those rocks there and she's injured. How do I get her? Or she floats down the river. Then what happens? So you follow that course. Okay, if you suck, that's what you were taught to think, right? That's not really you. That's what you were conditioned to think, that you suck, you can't do anything right, all that. So okay, but I'm doing it. I'm doing something that other people will never do, or I'm pursuing something that other people might not ever have the chance to do or might not have the courage to do. And so you just want to switch it. Like, I suck, but what did I do good? I showed up, I was on time, I communicated. You have to make the space for those good things because they outweigh that one bad thought like 10 to 1. Why are you giving that bad thought so much power? So follow it to its natural conclusion. I asked a weird question. Okay, so then you're never going to ask a question again, right? Like, you get to learn from it. It's an experience. It's part of that growth, but follow it, down. Why are you saying that to yourself? Why are you being so mean to you? And would you say that to Adrian? Would you say that to anyone in your life? Why do you get that treatment?
I've done like a lot of work on myself with all different types of therapy. And I think that's a common one. Would you say that to someone else? No, of course not. Well, so why are you different? I kind of think it is a motivator for me to be better and do
What
more.
terrible
It's probably not the
motivator.
healthiest way.
It sounds
I
terrible.
challenge
I think
myself sometimes
I
too,
think
but
I think it works. I think it works
Is
for me.
is that a healthy
least.
motivator though? You think that you wouldn't do anything if you didn't do that to yourself?
I mean, no, but I think it makes me push even harder. Like, frankly, I don't think I would have spoken again without. I mean, I was relentless. I was going so hard, and when I was locked in, self talk constantly. And it wasn't like beating myself up when I was locked in, but once the recovery started, it was, you gotta leave that shit at the door. You gotta do this, or else you're gonna fucking be stuck in a nursing home forever, you fucking lazy asshole.
So,
Just, but
yeah.
anyway, they're at the whole,
I
you
would
know,
say that probably served you in
um,
that moment, but something that you have to be careful about continuing to use negative self-talk is that it shows up in other ways as a consequence.
yeah. And again, certainly not healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever been healthy ever in my life. I would bet Adrian has never had negative self-talk Am I right or am I wrong,
No,
Adrian?
no, very, very wrong. I'm very, very hard on myself. I think most people are. I am. I'm very hard on myself for in a multitude
Hmm.
of different ways, but I try to not hold on to that and just keep it moving. But there are some days when I have terrible days, just, in your own head. I don't feel good in my skin. I don't think I look good that day. I don't feel like I'm doing anything, like I'm sitting around and I'm being lazy too much. So sometimes I have those days. And then other days I think I'm the shit and I'm doing wonderfully. So it varies a lot. I try to curb the negative self-talk, but I also kind of just accept that sometimes it's going to be good and sometimes it's going to be bad, and I don't have to hold on to the bad part of it. Like, the thoughts can come and go. I don't have to attach any meaning to it, pretty much. And it's hard to do. I also overthink like crazy. I have like these same kind of like intrusive thoughts. I'm like driving down the highway with the dog in the car and I'm like, what would happen to him if I got in a car accident right now? And then I go like sideways, you know? And then I have to think to myself, like, I'm being as safe as I can be. I stay away from other cars, but I have those, I have all those kind of thoughts too.
Well, that is surprising to hear. As long as I've known you, Adrian, for lack of a better word, is like in a La La Land version of heaven, where it's just like, so yeah, it's like all good. So that was very interesting to hear. And then also, Elizabeth, when I said that, you were like, really? That's surprising. And then when I heard Adrian, oh my God, that's so surprising, right? So everyone out there that listens to this, we all have this shit,
Yeah.
and we all have the power to make it quieter,
Yep.
less. And that's what we should do.
And
And nobody's
Because
perfect,
we
and you
all
can't
need to
compare
fucking
to other
break.
people.
yeah.
Yeah, we need to give ourselves a break.
Yeah.
We all
Yes.
need to break.
But I think, Adrian, that's the key too, of just not letting it stick. Like, it's okay to feel it, to make space for it, and then to release it, which is what we're supposed to do with our feelings anyways. Like, if you feel anger, you make
Mhm.
space for it, you feel it, and then you release it. And just being aware that if you sit in it too much, that's when diseases happen, right? Or illnesses happen. So
Yes.
you have to be careful with
Yep.
sitting in it too much, but feel your feelings. And the big thing I learned about grace is, or not grace, grief, the big thing I learned about grief is the only way out is through. You have to go through all of it. If you try to hijack it, like, I got high for the first time after my sister's funeral, and I was drunk that whole week because I was trying to numb it and hide it. And then just the consequences of the recovery the day after the hangover, I just learned, okay, I just gotta sit in it and feel it, and it'll work its way out when I'm ready. It's important.
And you said grace, and I say it to people all the time. I work in substance abuse, so I have patients come in all the time, and they're outwardly very hard on themselves. And I always tell them, give yourself a little bit of grace. You got to give yourself a little bit of grace. Nobody's perfect. And you're trying to make steps to change and give yourself a better life. So don't beat yourself up. And I always say it, try and give yourself a little bit of grace.
Give yourself grace, and these negative self-talks that is adding to all the grief that we all share. And so, very good advice. And we all know this shit, obviously. It's just hard to implement it, especially on yourself.
Yeah.
We're all really good at telling one another,
Mm-hmm.
you should do this, but when it comes to trying to do it to ourselves, usually we're the worst at it, and it takes a lot of work. And Elizabeth, you were right. Nobody wants to fucking do it.
It's easier not to
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
because we want to stick.
It's
Yeah.
It's easier as in I won't have to put in the work and I can put on the
yes,
TV. But overall, it'd be easier to do the
just
work
do
so you
it.
don't feel this
Well,
way. It's a constant. It's not like you put in this work for like 2 weeks and you're good. This is like a lifelong thing you'll have, a
yes.
practice you will have to implement.
Yeah. And we
Um,
want to choose what's familiar. So it's always like, what the devil you know. So even if what's familiar is harder and more painful and ugly, we're going to pick that because we know what to expect. Whereas if you get to do this hard
Mm-hmm.
work, you have a life waiting for you that you could never imagine. And what we all have to remember is everybody is misrepresenting. So, they're misrepresenting how in love they are. They're misrepresenting how happy they are, because that goes back to weddings and funerals, right? Everybody wants a piece of,
Mm,
the emotions. So we have to remember that just because someone looks like they have it all together, it looks like they found the love of their life, is that reality? Because what we present isn't always the truth. And that's true of negative self-talk too.
mhm, mhm.